Okay, welcome back to my wonderful channel, and this is my little series I'm doing on scary stories. Submit them yourself to me via my email address nickdutchtarot@gmail.com, and if you're lucky it'll fit into the show. I've seen a couple that were very long-winded, and that'll be very difficult for me to read out the whole thing and do all that stuff, considering that most people like a video that's about 5 minutes in duration because everyone's got the attention span of a fly these days. But either way, try and keep them short, to the point, and with like all the salient details in it. Alright? Now, it's got to be true, it's got to have happened to yourself, and if it hasn't happened to yourself but you've heard it secondhand, I want you to be honest and tell me. If you want to remain anonymous, also tell me, because like later on down the line with this series I may mention people's names if you would like me to, or their channel names too, so it could act like a shout out. But either way, this is my series on scary stories. This one has been submitted to me. Here we go. It's an old scary English story, but it's true. Here we go. This paranormal experience happened to me when I was spending the weekend with an old school friend and her boyfriend at a house in the Cotswolds. She was a chronic fatigue syndrome sufferer and spends much of her days in bed resting. I will go and visit her every now and then, as she cannot get out and about very easily or drive much. As she's living a long way away from me, I tend to stay there for a night or two. I have to mention at this point that her house is quite modern, 30 or so years old, but built in the lovely old Cotswold stone. I have, whilst staying the night on previous occasions, often felt a rather creepy air to the place. There are only 2 bedrooms, both upstairs, hers and a spare one. At night, if I needed to go to the bathroom, which happens to be downstairs, I never look forward to having to go out of my room and onto the landing and down the stairs into the hallway, because for some reason I feel a heaviness, like a watchfulness, coming from the darkness, as if I'm not alone, and it really plays on my nerves. But it's so obscure that I try and reason that I'm just being silly and I'm just afraid of the dark. Yeah. And yet every time I go there I feel the same thing. Yet I stayed the night at other friends and family's houses and haven't experienced the same eerie vibrations as I felt in this house. Ooh. Anyhow, in the past my friend had told me that on a few occasions she would be on her own, lying in bed resting during the day and with nobody else in the house at the time, and would suddenly get the feeling that someone had sat down on the other side of her bed. It's a double bed. And whenever this occurred, she would feel the mattress being pressed down at the exact same spot. I thought she might be joking with me, but she seemed very genuine and serious about it. However, she's not easily frightened or spooked, and said it doesn't bother her, but that it was odd all the same. Anyway, I was, as I say, spending this particular weekend with her and her boyfriend, and we were in the sitting room. It was evening, we just had dinner, nobody else in the house. I was thirsty, so decided to go and make a cup of tea. So I left them in the sitting room and went out to the hallway, and as I got near the kitchen, suddenly I heard a loud and clear, directly above my head, where my friend's bedroom is, the sound of heavy footsteps like boots walking up bare wooden floorboards. I even heard myself counting them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I was baffled. They sounded like a man's footsteps because of the heaviness of each step. They were so crystal clear to me. I stopped and looked up towards the ceiling from whence the sound had seemed to come. I tried to rationalise about what I just heard, but I couldn't make any explanation for it. Maybe her boyfriend was up there. But no, he was in the sitting room, which was to the far left of me, not up above. Nobody was up there, and I could hear her and her boyfriend sat on the sofa talking, definitely not walking about. More curiously, I know her bedroom is carpeted, so I couldn't figure out why these footsteps had sounded like boots on a wooden floor. I heard no more footsteps after that, so I made the tea and rejoined my friend and her boyfriend in the sitting room. I asked her if her house had had a previous occupant, anyone who may have died in the house. She shook her head. No. This house has had 2 previous owners, but both were still alive, no deaths here. Oh, okay, I said. But later on that evening, she suddenly said to me, actually, I almost forgot. Before this house was built, there was a much older house built on exactly the same spot. Tudor, I think. It got burnt down. And the last owner was an old man, and he died in the fire. Really? I said. Whereabouts was he in the house when he died? Oh, he was in his bedroom. Apparently it was situated upstairs, in roughly the same area as my bedroom is located. Funnily enough, a cold shiver ran down my spine. And the last sentence of the email to me says, "It's weird, don't you think?" To which I'd have to say, yes, very weird. But also, in my opinion, the kind of thing that could happen. Sleep tight.